Okay, everyone, this is part 3 of our chapter 4 tissues. We need to finish up muscle and nervous tissue. We are going to hit more muscle and nervous tissue later in the semester. So this actually will go just the cliff notes, a little bit faster, hopefully, than what we went through for epithelial and connective tissue. All of these tissues are to be expected on your first lab exam. So when we do our meetings for class this semester, you'll need to, especially week 2 and week 3, where we've designated as our histology labs, you'll need to start getting comfortable with how to use the microscopes and how to correctly identify these tissues, looking at them under the microscope and or when presented with a picture of them. And all those pictures are in your lab manual. All right. So we've talked about epithelial tissue, big thing, that's protection, that's barriers, that's those 5 characteristics, and then they fall into epithelium and glandular epithelial. We've talked about connective tissue, where it's all about that non-living background matrix, and cells are suspended in that. And for the connective tissue proper, you have the collagen, elastin, reticular fibers produced by the fibroblasts and fibrocytes, and then you have immune cells. And then whether or not it's tightly packed, not tightly packed, you get loose versus dense, and whether it's the population of collagen, elastin, and reticular fibers are kind of loosely spread, you get loose versus dense, and then what type of protein is more present. So it tends to be when we say something is fibrous or something is strong, the indication is there's more collagen protein present, whereas if something is more elastic, there's more elastin protein present. The specialized connective tissues, there's bone, cartilage, which the matrix starts to be a little different than, not so much about collagen, elastin, and fibroblasts, but a different cell type. There is collagen in those matrix, but for cartilage, there will be some elastin, but for bone, there's no elastin, right? So you worry about the collagen. And then for the liquid specialized fluid connective tissues, that's where we give blood its due, no collagen, elastin, no fibroblasts. We're talking about the blood cells suspended in plasma and water, and that gives rise to interstitial extracellular fluid, and then eventually that becomes your lymphatic fluid. Okay, moving into part 3, muscle tissue. Muscle tissue, it's going to be that these cells have some ability, some organization internally, proteins that have been made that cause the cell to be able to contract, that can allow the cell to change its shape, and upon changing its shape, it generates a twitch, it generates a contraction, and that can be utilized to perform work. Our muscle tissues in our body perform all of our body movements, so they manipulate our skeleton. They also manipulate movement of the bolus, the fluids, the fecal matter through our different tubing networks of different organ systems. So when we look at cells that have these specialized proteins embedded in a certain manner that allows the cell under certain conditions to contract, to change its shape and generate a force, they fall into basically kind of a spectrum with skeletal muscle on one end of the spectrum and smooth muscle on the opposite, and then cardiac muscle falls in the center. Okay? So when we look at skeletal muscle tissue, it's one of the 3 muscle tissues.